Nirvana is like one of my favorite bands, and I always thought that Kurt would like if younger artists were, continuing to push his sound and stuff. A lot of people would disagree, but me personally, that's kind of like my own tribute to what Nirvana did for me. It's nice
Hi,
to
Sophie.
meet
How
you,
are
Adam.
you? Nice to meet you. I'm Adam, and this is about you and your journey in music, and we'll talk about the new song that you just put out.
Yeah, I'm excited. One sec. Paige, is there any way I can turn up the volume? I'm just wondering if. Okay, no worries. Are you sure? Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, I just turned it up a bit.
Oh, awesome. Sweet. Yeah. So I did see were you born and raised in Toronto?
Yep. Born and raised. Moved out here though when I was 16.
Okay. What was it like growing up in Toronto?
It's a really diverse city. So obviously I was exposed to all kinds of music and cultures from a young age. That was always really cool. And for the most part, I like the city. I
Mhm.
didn't have the best experience in school, but who does? Like who come on,
Right.
let's be real.
Especially nowadays. So what's the point?
Yeah, but definitely I don't imagine myself growing up anywhere else.
Sure. There's a lot of music in Toronto too. It's a big city, obviously.
Yeah, I grew up going to the symphony every weekend from like the age of 4 until I want to say the age of 10. Not
Wow.
necessarily willingly, but with
Sure.
my aunts and uncle, because my dad's side of the family is very musical, and they took me to that, which was pretty interesting.
Do they play? Or does your dad play or anything?
My dad was a musician. He was in the North York Symphony Orchestra and a jazz band as well, but he took the business route, I think, once he hit his 20s and realized that I don't think he was going to get the life he wanted if he pursued music full time.
Sure.
But yeah, no, he like loves music, and for that reason, I think I'm like fulfilling his childhood dreams or something. He's like always on top of me.
That's cool. What about what did he play or what does he play?
Well, he would play the bass guitar or he would
Okay.
play bass violin.
Oh, cool. Did you
Um,
learn either of those instruments?
wait, is it the bass violin or the bass cello? I don't know. It's like the big standing one, and he goes
I
like
think
that.
it's cello. It's the
Yeah,
big one.
sorry. I think it's that. Yeah, he plays that.
Oh, cool. Did he teach you that instrument at all, or did you learn instrument at an early age?
Yeah, I learned guitar at an early age. I actually learned how to play the violin as well as the tuba, but I haven't touched a violin since I was like 12 because of the fact that I really did not have the patience for it.
Oh, really?
I don't
You-
know.
Were
It
you
was
in like the
a little
school
bit.
band or something like that with the violin and tuba?
I was in my school band for the tuba in like grade 6, 7, and 8 in middle
Mm-hmm.
school. Um, but the violin was more like it's a very beautiful instrument. It's so peaceful sounding.
Mm-hmm.
I just think at the time I just wanted like electronic guitars to go like
I just want to rock.
yeah, I kind of still do a little bit, but that was where I was at.
The tuba seems like such a big instrument for you to be carrying around. No offense.
So yeah, it was like twice the size of me, but I was so good at it. Like literally, I was playing with 4 years up, like high school students when I was in middle school in the tuba. I was
Wow.
the tuba girl. I was the tuba girl.
Did
In middle
you
school.
had no interest in pursuing it outside of those
Um,
years?
I mean, no, because
Okay.
I don't know how my career, what is it, a tubist? Tubist?
Sure. Tubist?
I'm not
I
too
don't I have
offended.
no
I'm not
idea.
trying to offend anyone who plays the tuba. It just I
Neither
didn't
am I. I
see
have
a
no
long-term
clue.
career with that. But yeah, it was fun
That's
and it
cool.
all lasted.
What about songwriting? When did you start writing your own songs?
Um, I like to say I started writing horrible songs when I was like 7 to 8, and
Oh,
then I actually
wow,
have
really young.
recorded. Yeah, I have recorded songs from when I was 8, like um on GarageBand. Like I had my mom's friend's friend who was like had this little studio called Yellow Dog, shout out Yellow Dog in Toronto, and I recorded like vocals for a song that I wrote. And it was like I still remember how to play it on guitar. It was low-key good, like low-key wasn't bad. I mean it was awful, but it was so awful that it was like kind of cute. I still
Yeah,
have the
especially at
demo.
that young of an age. That's pretty amazing that you not only recorded the song, but you went into a studio and had that kind of experience.
Yeah, I was really just thinking that I was gonna be the next like Disney star. I don't know what was going on. I think I was watching too much Hannah Montana at the time. And
Okay.
I was like so inspired by her, and I always loved performing and like dressing up and singing for my family and like doing theater and all that stuff. So I think my parents just have been very encouraging in me wanting to take that route, which is so
Mhm.
sick.
Yeah, no, definitely. And especially at that early of an age to have you go to a studio and record a song that you had written, and I'm sure taking it home was a big deal. You now you have this recorded piece of music that you wrote.
Yeah, it wasn't like a studio. We recorded it in like it was kind of just like a music like classroom,
Mhm.
and we recorded it just on the microphone in there. I don't think
But
I
still.
actually yeah, I didn't enter an official recording studio for I think I've been writing songs after that, but
Mhm.
like it wasn't my main focus because I was doing a lot of acting and theater stuff. But then kind of tapped back into it when I was like 14 and
Okay. Was there something that like a reason why you decided, or can you remember a moment where you're like, I really want to just go back to music and writing songs?
yeah, well, I was always doing it.
Mhm.
I just think that this one summer of me performing in front of my friends really changed my life because they were friends from the states that I had just met, and they were more supportive than anyone that I'd ever been friends with in Toronto, especially of like my music stuff. And I think that just boosted my confidence like right back to
Mhm.
where it was early on. And I felt like the spark. I just felt so inspired, and I really said to my parents, I want to do this for the rest of my life. And you guys know I've always been passionate about it. I've been acting. I had just gotten back from like filming a pilot for a show in Vancouver. Um, that didn't end up getting like aired, but my parents were like, "Well, you're already doing acting, like might as well, you know?" So
Mhm.
they were great with that.
Wow. Did you like how did your friends were you playing them songs that you had written? Like how did they hear you and then like
We
kind of
were
validate your
Eh yeah, it was like this, it was this summer trip. I went to UCLA and I dormed there with, like, my other friend from Toronto, and they had kids from, like, all over. You had New York, you had, like, Singapore, you had, like, Portugal, like, literally every city, every country. It was a crazy experience, and, obviously, they had chaperones, and they take you for different activities each day. But when I did that and I met those girls from New York, and I'm still best friends with a few of them, because they're just so sweet. But yeah, we did this karaoke night. My first time like performing in front of friends since I was like traumatized from middle school. Um that's a whole other story.
Oh, something happened where you didn't want to get up in front of people anymore?
Yeah, something really bad. This is actually like really I I think I've posted a joke about this online recently. But when I was in grade 7, some people found my Broadway tapes from Matilda of when I was like 10 with like a British accent singing on stage. And this
Mhm.
all boys school in my city like screened it in front of the whole school. And I was being sent videos of like 300 boys my age just laughing at me, like singing. This is a big
Oh,
all boys private school at the time. And
yeah.
I literally was so traumatized from that experience. All other music stuff, I wouldn't post online. I would travel on the weekends. Like I wouldn't even take singing lessons in Toronto. I would go to Mississauga, which is like outside of the city, just because I didn't want like I was scared someone in the city would literally see me walking into a music lesson. Like that's how scared I was. And it's so stupid now that I think about it. But
But not really. I mean, being that young and being that's awful.
yeah, I mean I like called the boys. Like my dad was like fuming. He was like, I'm gonna call the principal. I'm like, no, Dad, don't. Like, just get the videos removed off YouTube. So hopefully nobody can ever find those videos again. I literally got them all removed from YouTube.
Good for you. I mean, that's brutal. Just like bullying you over. Yeah, that's awful.
But look, everyone deals with their fair share. So, I think what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, whatever the saying is.
Right, right. But then you finally would have the courage to just say, screw it. I'm just gonna get up and do it anyway.
Yeah, I think it was hurting me more, like not doing it and not posting about it and not being able to just do it freely. Like in my friends, like they'd be like, want to hang out Sunday? I'm like, no, I can't. I'd have to make up excuses. And like for
Mm,
auditions, like I would always have to miss school and people would just think I was ditching. But I was like, I couldn't tell them like, oh, I have an audition for this musical or whatever, because I was just so scared they were gonna like make fun of me.
mhm.
Um, just again embarrassing to even talk about because you should never feel like you have to hide who you are. And that's why I make music now. Because I want people to be able to express themselves, and I think music really helped me during that time. It was like that friend when I had no support from my other friends. Music was that friend that I could lean on.
Sure. I'm sorry they had that experience. Forgot who I interviewed, somebody that had a similar story where it was like people were just putting the YouTube videos up in the middle of class, kind of just clowning her. And it's like, that's just so that's brutal. I don't, yeah.
It's just
Sorry to hear
really
that.
bad when you're in middle school and everything
It's the
feels like the end of
worst.
the
The middle school
world.
is like the worst.
Yes, but now I write songs about it, and they're decent enough to
Yeah.
for people to listen to on all socials. Yeah. I'm supposed to be self-promoting probably my new single right now that I just dropped, Nosebleed, but talking about trauma is way more fun. So
Well, we'll talk about your single, I promise you. But this
I'm
is
just
quite the
joking
journey. Like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry to hear about that. But like the fact is that you're doing it now, right? And you were able to get the confidence back and do what you're doing. And I'm sure it turning that all that anger and angst, and you're able to write some awesome songs out of
awesome songs for sure.
it. So I saw that you dropped out of school at 16. Your parents were like on board for you to pursue music, which is huge, right?
Yeah. They I I told them like 2 weeks before school started that I wanted to like do online school
Hmm.
and pursue music and the arts full time. And it just happened to be that at the same time I told them that, I kind of booked this pilot that was shooting in Vancouver. Um, and it was only a 2-week pilot, but like we figured out a way to tell my school that it was like 2.5 months so that I wouldn't have to go to school for like the whole first semester. And we kept
Nice.
like leading my school along, being like, oh, like she's just busy doing like music right now, like she'll go back or whatever later. Cause like I wasn't
Mhm.
sure, like I still wasn't sure. Like I knew I wanted to do this fully, but it's really scary being like,
Right.
oh, I'm gonna drop out fully and just do music and stuff. And it wasn't like I was a star. Like I didn't even have like 5,000 followers, like I was a nobody. No, it doesn't even matter though in terms of that. What mattered to me most at the time was that I could just be myself, and I think my parents saw that, and you know, they knew I struggle with anxiety and depression, and this is the only thing I told them that like actually makes me happy. And
Mhm.
they were like, "Okay, we support you." And so I did online school for a year and a half, but then things just like started picking up. And by the time my first tour hit, like I just didn't have any time for online school. So I only finished till up like halfway through grade 11. And the rest I could finish in a year and a half if I did it full time. But it's just like
You
I'm
could
taking
always go back. There's like,
now.
yeah, there's always time, right?
Yeah.
Wow. So then what took you, how'd you get to LA then? Was that just a decision you and your family made? Like, okay, let's, really, if we're gonna go for this, let's try it out in Los Angeles, or when do you start putting out music?
Well, so when I was 15, I was still doing some acting stuff, but I wanted to focus on music more. And
Mhm.
so once that like mini pilot thing was done, I went back to Toronto and just started recording and improving my voice and recording, like making demos. full time, and I was just sending them out to different like managers, like through whatever connections I could have, and through my dad's friend, like former neighbor's dad had a son who like had a manager, like just whatever strings I could pull. I was searching up managers online, just sending my stuff out. I mean, my mom, and like ended up going with met with a few different managers, but ended up going with the former friend's neighbor, and it was great. His name's Adam Gill, but he really helped me get off the ground, and linked me with some producers who really liked my stuff out in LA. And the pandemic hit, so it's not like I could continue to make demos in Toronto and studio. And I think at the time it was only Canada that was in lockdown. Like the US took a little bit longer, I think, than Canada to go into lockdown. So I
Mhm.
headed out to LA, and literally the first week of me being there, lockdown hit in LA.
Oh,
So I
wow.
kind of got stuck there because like you couldn't really cross the border easily.
Yeah,
But
Canada was really strict about people coming back and forth.
yeah. And this was like, I met my manager like in February, right before the pandemic hit too.
Mhm.
So it was like the timing just worked out really well. And I went out there when I was 16 because I took like another 6 months to just keep making demos remotely on Zoom. And I was going crazy. Like, I can't do this. I just need to be in the studio in person. So
Mhm.
yeah, I went out to LA, and I slept on like a mattress on the floor for like 5 months alone at 16 in another country just to make music. And it was a time. Pandemic hit, so we just did that every day. Me and my producer and like this other songwriter named Cam. And then we had this other girl named Shelby who helped us too, who's great, Shelby Kemper. But yeah, that was the team.
Wow. And you got to do, some pretty cool collaborations. Like you had Kellen Quinn on your song and in your video.
So crazy. Kellen is so sweet, such a down to earth person, and obviously Sleeping with Sirens was like Warp Tour royalty, I should say. But
Yeah.
yeah, my friend was actually the one who was a major Sleeping with Sirens fan, and I had the song, and I was like, "Who do you hear on this?" And they were like, "Kellen Quinn," and I was like, "Okay, I'll I know Kellen Quinn, like I'll check it out, or I'll see what my management can do." And Kellen, I think, was doing features at the time, but or wasn't doing features at the time, but then he started to around when we were going to release the song, and he really liked the song, I think,
Mhm.
and just did his thing. And that video was shot in Miami,
Oh, wow.
actually, because yeah, I don't even know how to explain it, but it was just such a great day, and I'm so thankful to have been collaborating with him. Even Dwayne and like No Offense and Satori Zoom, who I also collabed with, are they're all so
Mhm.
dope.
Yeah, that's a rad EP that you put out. The Red and
Thank
Revenge
you.
EP. Yeah, I really like it. I love the cover that you did of the Nirvana song too. I thought that was really
Oh,
cool.
Heart Shaped Box? Yeah, thank you
Yeah.
so much. Nirvana is like one of my favorite bands, and I always thought that Kurt would like if younger artists were, continuing to push his sound and stuff. A lot of people would disagree, but me personally, that's kind of like my own tribute to what Nirvana did for me.
They were a big influence for you growing up?
For sure, I think they like kept me from, and literally like taking my own life at certain points. They were so
Wow.
like, I listened to Something in the Way,
Mhm.
I think, every day for like 3 hours straight, for like so often, like in middle school when I was hiding myself from the world, I would just be like so emo and listen to Nirvana for hours. It was a time.
Well, you did a great job on that cover. I think it's
Thank you so
definitely a rad
much.
version, yeah. And your new one, Nosebleed, is a really cool song too. It's quite different than the other stuff that you've put out.
Yeah, so Nosebleed is definitely more experimental, but I think with every release, I want to challenge myself more and
Mhm.
level up in a way more. So it it's different, but it still pulls from the same hyper pop elements and even the same like vocal tones of You Love It and Greed and that rapping,
Mhm.
talking, singing voice. And you know, it's a banger according to my 14
No, I think it's an awesome song,
siblings
and the
and
video's rad, and
management team
I love, yeah, it's like you're singing and talking, and it's kinda got the like it's got that like those hits throughout the verses that are it's so
Yeah,
tell me
it's
what's the song about?
um it's a vibe for anyone and their emotionally numb friends to like listen to, but
Okay.
still be like kind of turned to.
Uh-huh.
It's about seeing everything and feeling nothing. And when so much crazy shit is happening around you, especially at the time I wrote it, there was a third wave of COVID, and all my friends were like, oh, we're doing the same thing every day. And like, you're seeing all these people's loved ones, are losing their lives. And then you see, like, obviously there's riots happening.
Yeah.
It was more for a, obviously like those are all very serious issues, but seeing all of this happening every single day and having access to that information at your fingertips, you kind of become a little bit numb to it, where it just becomes normal. And and that's why I wrote the lyric. We see like, and we feel nothing even though we feel it all, like, because you still feel for all of those things that are happening, but you can't let it affect you to the point that it should, because otherwise you wouldn't be stable, because there's so much of it happening. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's hard to like even digest it all. I mean, it's just like
Exactly.
so much going on, and especially at that time. I mean, even now it's getting, kind of back to that state, but it's like, yeah, there's so much going on, so much horrible news, and it's like that's all you're seeing throughout your phone, and you could just access it at any moment of time.
Yeah, and like, not to downplay all the horrific events that happened, especially during the pandemic, and not say like we don't feel anything, because obviously you feel something about it. But for me personally, if I felt something about every single little post that I saw, I would literally not have made it through that pandemic, because I'm I'm a very like empathetic person, just me personally, and I think my generation is too, like, feeling for
Mhm.
people. You should feel for people and feel for things that are happening, but it's overwhelming after a certain point, and overstimulating, and you just want to like be a zombie and just like listen to music and just be like, tune out for the world from the world for a second.
Mm. Yeah, overstimulating is a great way to describe it for sure.
Yeah. That's how I felt while I was writing it.
Okay. And I mean, you've done amazing things obviously with your music, but you've signed this huge record deal, and I'm sure your dad was like beyond stoked, like, you saying that he kind of wants to live through you as far as your music goes and everything. And it's like you've signed this deal with Atlantic Records and are putting your songs out. Like, what was that like? And how did that conversation start with them?
So, one of the A&Rs from Tag Music, Joe
Hmm.
Buscema, came to my show in LA. It was the last show of the No Offense tour that I did. It was my first like US tour.
Hmm.
And that tour was so fun. Noah killed it. Obviously, Joe thought I killed it and said we have to sign her. And at the time, Joe was working with Gabe at Tag Music, Gabe Saporta.
Yeah.
It's like his company over there, and I know they were working with artists on the management side, but Gabe was in the works of starting a JV with Atlantic. So I think they pitched like 20, 50 artists or something, and the two artists I guess they took were me and my friend Jules, who brought Joe to the concert to see me. And
Wow.
so that's kind of how the ball started rolling, and I got the deal with Atlantic, and everyone here has been great. I think it's been so crazy because I announced it so recently, but this has been in
Hmm.
the works since like last June, and I officially signed it in like, I think, end of November, December.
Oh wow. That
So
must have been a big day though, to finally sign it and then being able to kind of let the world know, like, this is what I've been waiting to kind of share with you.
yeah, and I posted little teasers because I had these cookies made that said my logo on them in Atlantic. And I like posted photos of the cookies, but I couldn't say like officially, oh, I signed to Atlantic. I just said I
Oh.
signed a deal, and like whoever could pick up on it did. But then when I officially posted, people were like, oh my God. And I was like, The OGs know. The OGs know.
And is Nosebleed gonna be part of a bigger project that you're working on?
Yeah, Nosebleed is definitely gonna be part of I'm working on an album right now, my debut album. And
Wow.
yeah, I'm gonna have some other tracks released before I'm going on tour with water parks in June.
Yeah, that's huge. I saw that. Like,
Oh, so
majority of it's
crazy.
sold out already.
I know, it's so cool because I literally like that's one of my favorite bands.
Oh,
Um,
cool. Yeah,
so
Austin, I've interviewed him before. He's amazing.
oh my gosh. Yeah, he DM'd me on Instagram, like, I love your new track, Nosebleed, like send it to me. Like, and then he tweeted, like, Sophie, you still haven't sent me that new track, like send it to me. And I was like,
Wow.
oh, Austin, I I was like starstruck. So that's been really cool. And um once I go on tour with that, I'll be playing some of the unreleased songs that are gonna go on the album on that tour to like test them out live and then kind of refine them after that
Mhm.
tour.
Oh, that's exciting. That's
And just to go back to what you said about my dad,
mhm.
because I feel like I missed that a bit, but yeah, he actually couldn't make it to the release party. This is just a fun fact. And I think I didn't really fully tell him it was like this big release party or like signing party, I mean.
Uh-huh.
And he was calling me like the whole time that I was at the party, like basically freaking out. Um, and I like to keep stuff under wraps, but him and my mom both, my mom was at the party, but him and my mom both are, you know, they're very
Static.
supportive.
Yeah, that's so awesome, especially having your dad be a musician and kind of striving for that and
Oh gosh,
going
don't boost his ego.
oh, but that's huge, right? I mean, then his daughter is signed to a major label and putting out these songs and touring with water. I mean, you've accomplished a lot. That's huge.
Well, it's funny because this has been in the works, like obviously since I was 15, and
Mhm.
like I'm 18 now, but even not even since I was 15. This has been in the works for me like since I feel like I was little. Like told you I wrote my first song at 8. I've
Yeah.
been acting, like missing school to go film shows and commercials since I was like 11 and 12 and even 10, So it feels like it's been so long, like 8 years, but to the average person, like most people don't even know who I am. I'm not even like, but I always like to downplay it, but at the same time, like, you know, um, say that I am grateful and continue to try and build this shit up.
Yeah, no, for sure. You're doing all the right things. And then, this water park tour will be huge. Their fan base is like so dedicated.
For
So that's
sure.
gonna be a great opportunity. And
I'm in a Twitter fan group for water parks, like, just so you know. Like, the level of like, I'm literally in a parksies is, like, the term, fan base calls themselves, but I'm in a Parksies group chat, but it's called like free therapy with Soph, and like everyone on that chat is like, "Did you see Austin's like new tweet? Like, we're gonna dye our hair for the concert." Like, it's so funny.
oh, that's amazing. Well, getting that call must have been huge too. If you're already a fan, it sounds like you're a pretty big fan of the band, and then knowing you get to go on tour with them.
Yes, definitely huge. It's funny because I was a big fan of the music and I saw all of the high def stuff, but I didn't officially know that that was Austin's like brand. Like I thought he just collaborated with this brand called High Def. I didn't know he was a designer, and I'm also a fashion designer. Like I design almost all my own outfits for music videos and tour outfits.
Oh,
So
wow.
the fact that he's also a fashion designer is just even like something surreal that I like what I'm looking forward to chatting with him about.
Yeah, you guys should do some collaboration tour merch. That'd be tight.
Oh, that'd be so cool. Yeah.
Well, Sophie, thank you so much for chatting with me today. I appreciate your time.
Oh, thanks for letting me talk, but like no thanks at the same time because I talk too much probably. But
No,
yeah, no,
you're
thank you.
awesome.
Thank you so much for this.
Of course, I have one more question before I let you go. I want to
Go
know if
ahead.
you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Um, the best advice I would say is to figure out what kind of music that you want to make versus what kind of music you like. Because for me, figuring out my own sound came from not replicating someone else's sound and trying to be what I liked. I took elements from what I liked from all different genres, and that's how I made my own sound. And that for me as an artist, developing my own sound, really helped me the most, I would say, out of anything. So that would be my advice, I guess.